Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Arndt. Welcome to the Ken Grossman post-game show wrap-up. With me, Mr. Joel Hermansen, the man who goes to bed every night with Sierra Nevada pajamas. Just learned this.
Underoos.
Right. I am absolutely proud to carry that banner.
Maybe they should look at that as an actual product. And the man who I just found out is guilty of breaking the 10th commandment, Mr. Bobby Fleshman, who covets the kegs of Sierra Nevada.
Stalking. Is stalking one of those?
I don't think stalking is actually against the commandment, so
Okay.
I think you're good to go.
Okay, so I'm just stalking.
But I'm sure it's covetous of something. So we've been doing this podcast a while now. We have talked to a great many people. And, you know, the question Joel always asks is, who's on your Mount Rushmore?
We just talked to Mount
Everyone
Rushmore.
always says is Ken Grossman. So this is one of the biggest interviews we could probably do in the world of beer and brewing. So what did you get out of it? What did you learn?
First of all, I want to say how humble he was and how understated.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't acknowledge, I mean, he does on some level, but he could do a lot more. He could have his people and throw his Benjamins out, whatever that means in beer.
Right.
But
I think you'll find that people that are well known in a certain niche. Like
Yeah.
you go down the street and ask people who Ken Grossman is, they don't know who he is.
right.
It's only people within a certain niche. And as someone who is kind of well known in a certain niche, it's very easy to be humble when you realize that most people still don't know who you are.
That's a good point. We're pretty close to it. I give you that.
For Joel, yeah, I mean, he was, imagine the girls at Shea Stadium when the Beatles were there. That was Joel.
That's so true.
He's screaming, he's crying.
Yeah.
Despite that fact, because I don't disagree with you, despite that fact, I thought I carried myself with a measure of dignity and grace that was surprising to
You
everyone.
did. You're going to go home to your wife and it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
So
God.
I remember
I'm going to go like this. And for those of you who are with us,
Yeah.
I'm flapping my hands.
We were practicing last night. We were going over the notes and distilling this down. And his wife, Marianne, came down and was saying, guys, you got to focus on 5 questions. Because what I read from that was, Joel, you're gonna go off, and it's gonna be in 2 hours later. We're not gonna be past the first 20% of this thing.
Right.
So,
Right. And she was, in her defense, she's a food journalist. And she interviews people all the time. She interviews people of notoriety and significance. And
Ken doesn't have 4 hours for us, so we gotta make.
God, I
best
wish he did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to bring him here
Yeah.
and on a Wednesday and see
You
how
know,
he.
I mean, when that brew house makes the tour, who knows?
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
So I actually told my cousin and my lifelong friend Sam Manchester, who is an editor for the New York Times. I texted him today. I said, historically, you're the most famous person that I know. And he said, that's really sad. And I said, but today that streak ends because I get to talk to Ken Grossman. And he goes, holy shit, that's a big deal. So, I mean, even to, an East Coast journalist / editor of the New York Times, he even knew what was at stake.
Yeah.
So,
Gary
so
piped
Gary.
in on the business comments.
One, I've met quasi-famous people before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Am
so
I one
it's-
of them?
No, you are not.
Shit.
And second, I am just not at the same level of beer and brewing as you guys
nerddom.
are.
Yeah.
Most of what I have learned about this business and this industry has come from being at McFleshman's. Like before that, I can't really say I knew a whole lot about it. So this is something for you that has been years in the making. And when you guys said, oh, David's like, yeah, we lined up Ken Grossman, you were like, oh man. I was like, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was in the making. It was just because in the making implies there's steps to getting to where we are. This has years of background, right? And then when he drops, so he walks out of the room, so I can't give him the
I mean,
accolades.
where did he go?
Yeah.
Like, is he making a sandwich? Like, what's happening?
So the reason we did the interview at all was David. Charlie said, sure, I'll see what I can do. And I'm sure that he kind of rolled his eyes at it. But
No, I think the Vern's malted milk balls.
the malted milk balls, yeah,
Yeah, I think
maybe,
that was the
yeah.
factor.
But it's one of those moments where, like, after we've had this interview now, we'll be able to say, hey, Ken Grossman's been on the show, and anyone who might want to be on that on the next episode for that reason.
Yeah.
No, it's a great calling card. I used to do a podcast called This Week in Travel. We did it for 11
David, you
years.
walked out of the room. We gave you
Never
praise
made a dime.
because you're the
And
only reason this is happening.
What it did is open the doors. And we were able to get people who were big in the travel industry, like Pauline Fromer and Samantha Brown, on the show. And once those people are on the show, it's very easy to get kind of anyone else. And I think that is what getting a guest of this caliber can kind of do.
And not to take away from what we've had. We've had some level 9
Yeah, right.
guests on
John
there.
Keeling, Mitch
Yeah.
Steele, Charlie Bamforth.
I mean, Charlie alone is himself level 10.
Right.
But he doesn't brew or make the beer. He doesn't have his name on like Sierra Nevada. So there's that exposure that Ken Grossman brings to the story. But where Charlie's all about the science, you have Ken that's all about the technology. And the two of them together, they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
At this point.
And like I know, for example, my phone, which I know this will be surprising to our listeners, my phone is not that active. But my phone was blowing up today. Is today the day you're talking to Ken Grossman? Oh my gosh, you're talking to Ken Grossman. Holy crap, you're talking to Ken Grossman.
I know.
And normally these people don't even reach out to me to say, "Hey, how you doing?" But today, of all days.
So I'm in Pick and Save grabbing a 6-pack of green.
Is this when you forgot the 12
when I forgot
pack?
the 12-pack of Celebration in the truck?
Which now you have
Which I
apparently
now
won a
have
12
one
pack.
of.
Can you bring that over to my
I'll
house
bring that
sometime and we'll drink it?
Play guitar and do that. As I'm doing this, I felt like it was so disconnected from where I'm going. You know, I'm walking out of Pick and Save in somewhere Wisconsin with this 6-pack of Sierra Green, and I'm going to be involved in an interview with the guy who made it. It just felt really weird.
It did. It's been surreal the entire day, actually.
To drink it while he's giving the interview.
Right. We drank several Celebration ales.
For the record, I think it was a 12-pack now
Is gone.
No more.
Yeah.
Hi,
gone.
David Kelso, podcast producer, on the mic for the first time in the main feed.
Finished it.
Let's be clear. You made me get you a celebration.
Twice. Right.
You're just going to
twice.
text celebration question mark, and I'm like,
And he made
is good?
You get me one.
Right.
And
twice.
Gary.
Well, and I tried to get it to Aaron. I was holding it up during the podcast.
Yeah.
And
I was
Aaron,
wondering where that was, where that was going.
Oh, well, I could
Yeah.
see on the video that
that he was
Aaron was
behind.
back behind the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
Lunch.
So I was holding up.
He looked
The-
confused when he saw it. He was just like, what? Not that
I
he
mean,
didn't
I
what
don't
it
know
was,
really
but
how
just know what
how
you were
confusing
signifying.
this is. And again, I'm
Drink
holding up
beer.
a celebration ale, pointing at my head.
Yeah. In
so-
summary, this podcast is a love affair with Celebration.
Well, it's actually a love affair with Sierra Nevada because I remember, back in the old days when beer was not as readily available as it is today, and a good friend of the podcast, a good friend of the brewery, Christoph. We used to take pride in, oh my gosh, we got this item from Hinterland in Green Bay, and we got this Oso product from Plover, and it was a cool deal to get stuff that you couldn't get in your town in 2005, 2007, 2008, etc. Now we don't have that problem. You walk through any liquor store, any grocery store, and there's beer from across the country, across the state, and it's no longer an issue. But it used to be a big deal. And when we got, for example, in 2006, and this is where I want to kind of start this conversation about early Sierra Nevada memories. when we got that anniversary ale mailed to us in 2006, that was a huge deal. It was a huge deal. When I was able to bring a 6-pack of it back in 2008 on the plane, and he picked us up from the airport actually, and we immediately whisked away the 6-pack to the freezer so that we could drink it quickly. That was a huge deal. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I already know some of the answer because we've already talked a little bit about it. What was the first time that you had this guy
So Sierra
right
Green.
here,
Yeah.
Sierra Green? I don't even call it pale ale. I call it green.
I think that's totally fair. It's funny. They used to use a malt on the West Coast from Great Western Malting, and one of the bags is blue colored, so they'll always use blue malt. It's funny how on the West Coast they just describe these things as colors. But anyway, in Oklahoma, you can't refrigerate beer, or you couldn't when I lived there.
I'm gonna go on record as criticizing Oklahoma.
No, go for it. Yeah,
That's the dumbest fucking thing. It's like saying you can't cook food.
No, because
Okay, I wasn't going to go quite as far as Gary, but Gary, I agree.
It's the craziest thing. Like, because the argument is you might drink it and get drunk before you drive home. When in reality, they can buy like whiskey and drink that before they drive home. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
You can't refrigerate it where?
at the liquor store or the grocery store. Period. If it's above 3.2%.
Oh, that 3.2.
Yeah, it's that
What
old
the
blue
hell
law.
is that?
Yeah. Now
That's the old
laws-
Minnesota Sunday law.
Yeah.
No, they still have that in Minnesota.
That's outrageous.
It's in grocery stores.
Yeah.
I condemn that law. Can I condemn a law?
So
Go nuts.
So I found because I was getting into craft beer around '98. That's when I was really finally learning something about other than Amberbock, which was my quote first craft beer, Michelob Amberbock. But as I discovered Merchant du Vin, which at some point I'd love to get the founders of that distributor who brought in all of these like Sam Smiths and all these Belgian breweries that we were introduced to were brought in by Merchant du Vin. And they had a Sam Smith oatmeal stout, foil top and black glass and everything. It was so beautiful. That was my segue into craft. But the other segue into craft was this dusty bottle, this dusty 6-pack of Sierra Green. And I bought it, and unfortunately, again, it's warm, it's dusty, and blah, blah, blah. It
should not be dusty.
But it stood out amongst any of its competition because every beer was treated the same way in Oklahoma. And that's a whole other podcast and a whole other conversation.
A condemnation of Oklahoma.
It really is. And we can go down
Well-deserved.
that. We can go down that.
This is why people got in jalopy pickup trucks in the 1930s and went to California.
Absolutely. Grapes of Wrath.
Right. It had nothing to do with the Dust Bowl and everything to do with beer.
But I had this beer, and it was extremely bitter. And I think everybody's first impression of green was, wow, that's too much. And I didn't feel like it was too much, but I felt like it was sort of, it pushed those boundaries. It made me think after I finished a glass of it. It made me think about it. And it turns out, and Vinny talks about this from Russian River, there's a lupulence shift. When people drink enough hoppy beers, they start to get over that hump. And then they start to find new balance after they've gone through having these different examples. But
Can
Sierra
you define lupulence for me?
lupulence. Oh, so basically, lupulence is the gland of a hop that produces those precursors to the bittering compounds.
Carry on.
Yeah.
I thought it was the process of becoming a werewolf.
What is that? Humulus lupus? No, that's something. Anyway, a lot of Latin being thrown around here. What is that? Oh, shoot.
Agent in the hop that is the precursor to bitterness?
Yeah. And Vinny will talk about that. We'll have Vinny on here in a couple weeks.
Right.
That's true.
Like, holy cow, drop the mic and we're done. We're just close the place, shut the lights off. 25 is where it all ended for us. Yeah. Those two extremes, though, between the Sam Smith oatmeal stout, the British brewing tradition, and then the West Coast brewing tradition really bookended everything we do here. And then the lagers came in by way of a trip to the Great American Beer Festival, where I discovered Doppelbox and so on and so on. But for me, my most influential moments are Sam Smith and one of Russian River or Sierra Nevada exposures. Those are the legs of our chair here.
The first time I had Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, I had just been hired as a teacher. It was, I believe, 1996 December. And there was a staff event at the Paper Valley Hotel. And I was drinking a Miller Lite because that was kind of what I knew coming out of college. And Jerry Howard, Jerry, I know you're probably listening. Jerry brought me a Sierra Nevada Green and said, you should try this. And it was, and I've mentioned this a couple times on the show. This is kind of my metaphor for this type of an event. But it was like that moment in Ratatouille where he tastes the toasted cheese, you know,
Two flavors on their own.
with
don't
the
make any
strawberry
sense.
or
Yeah.
whatever he's got going on, and there's this kind of kaleidoscope of colors and lights.
And,
And I-
like
and I-
Ratatouille, you could have a rat in your hair for all we know.
True.
Running
and,
those levers,
and I
pulling the air.
I knew at that point that I was done with domestic beers.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that at that point forward, I would drink domestic beers if I was at an event maybe that didn't have these beers, but otherwise I would then have to make a commitment to move to that universe.
And I've appreciated the Sierra culture from, like you just described, the liquid side, to drinking this beer, and you get hooked on it. And then you own a brewery, and you learn how to brew, and then you want to know how you can make something like that kind of balance and that much flavor. And then when you own the business, you get farther down the pipe, and you start to ask yourself, how do I brand something like this? This is something that is iconic. That color is all but trademarked. There's something about the branding of this brewing company, and we talked about their
The label.
commitment to sustainability and all these things, but their branding is so good, and they have a lane that they own all their own.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, like that label. I mean, I've always really liked the outdoors. I love hiking and things. So Sierra Nevada has always been an easy thing for me to explain. And I remember hiking through the Narrows at Zion National Park and going back to the bar/brew pub with all of the kids and whatnot. And you had just hiked in like 100-degree weather for 3.5 hours. And the only thing I wanted was a Sierra Nevada Green.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the brewery, and lo and behold, there it is. And that is one of my top 3 beers of all time, in large part because of that exact moment. You know,
And part of it's the liquid, and
part of it's
the
looking at. I'm
culture.
looking
Yeah.
at the label on the can or the bottle right now.
It's iconic.
Right, you have this beautiful mountain setting. You have this stream
And I won't
leading
lie.
perspective-wise into it.
When we set out to come up with our filigree and our big logo, we sat down with this logo. We didn't want to.
It's the best logo in.
But we thought,
in
how
products.
do we?
I don't even think you can. Like Nike's really is a really good logo, but
Yeah.
like this is right there.
Yeah. And this is a person who has a high IQ, and he's very talented, and he's very technical, and every detail he has his thumb on. And I think his family's continuing that tradition right now.
Do you remember the first time that you had this beer?
I've never had that beer.
I too have not had a
First
green.
the first beer from
David-
Sierra Nevada I've ever had was 2 hours ago, and that was a celebration. I've never had that beer ever.
Okay, David, are you able to help us out with that, please?
Yes, I will go get us one.
Okay, I have my opener here. Okay, this is the most iconic beer in the United. This is
I've had a Blind Pig. I've had a I mean, I've had the other IPA.
No, we've gradually been educating you in beer here at McFleshman's. You've had a heady topper, you've had a blind pig, you've had a Pliny the Elder. You have tasted the fruits of great beer. But this, and David has only brought one. Was this the last one?
No, there's more.
Okay.
I don't want a full one. I just want to taste it. That's why I brought 2 glasses. You can hate me for that, but let me tell you, after 2 celebrations that I've had today,
And it has
Bitter-
to be
bitter-
poured properly. And being a level 1 Cicerone, I'm able to do that for you.
Well,
Neither of these men have had a Sierra Nevada grape.
Right, so you
One
talked
thing
about
that did
your
surprise
first
me about the
experience.
celebration is there was a lot of foam.
Yeah,
and it was very
the
thick
foam
foam.
is
Oh, yeah.
delightful.
you could scoop it.
Honestly, so is the pale. So it has the same sort
So
of integrity.
we're going to interrupt this episode for a brief blind tasting.
Well, you said the question was, what was your first Sierra Nevada
So here we
pale
go.
ale tasting? And here we have it live.
David Kelso, you're first.
Oh, joy.
That is shocking. This is the #1 craft beer in
In the world.
The world
Right,
in terms of volume.
right.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't remember like Woodman's and Festival, but I also was like, when I got craft beer, it was like Wisconsin made, man, because local.
Oh, yeah, Lakefront. So
I didn't
Lakefront
really-
IPA is top flight.
Well,
New Glarus is
I told
great.
you about my
Yeah.
IPA experience was that it was Goose Island was the first one, and it was so bitter that I was like, this must be what all IPAs taste
when
like.
was
I
that?
don't-
Was it pre-08?
Yeah, that must have been pre.
Okay, so
InBev.
post-08.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's after the acquisition. Who knows how that
Yeah,
looks?
that
and InBev
that's
bought it.
not the. Okay, here goes David, listeners.
Oh, that's much more drinkable of an IPA. So much better.
Okay,
The bitterness is like not prominent.
but you like it,
Yeah.
and you did it have a ratatouille moment for you?
If I was coming off drinking a Bud Light,
He came off a celebration. so-
100%.
Okay,
Having come off the celebration, it's like there's a lot of similar hop flavors, but they're definitely different.
I can see why people would consider this a very good beer. Totally understand.
okay.
And it does, I would agree with David, it's less hoppy. It's not, would you call this a West Coast IPA?
No, pale ale.
This is a pale.
Yeah,
ale.
yeah.
It's regular.
Yeah.
Do you see why that changed our lives?
No. But
I love how there was no pause.
I knew that was going to be the response because it's Gary.
Gary is unfiltered.
Yeah, but beer consumes your entire life as a home brewers turned brewers.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So
this is a very good beer.
it's an
Yes. This
is-
outstanding beer.
Yeah.
And what do you make that is closest to this?
Well, before we get to that, let me ask you a question.
All right.
Okay, because I know you have an answer for that question.
To me, this tastes like it's halfway between a light lager and a West Coast IPA.
That's it, where it is precisely.
So let's pretend that you had that beer in 1997 for the first time.
All right.
And
I
you
would've-
had
Everyone has a
drinking-
brown
I mean,
ale and a porter.
Right. The only
Yeah,
the high point of your craft beer experience at that point was Newcastle Brown Ale. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you taste this. Where are you at? He's speechless. This is the first time in the
That is
history
a question
of this
that I've never
podcast.
thought about.
I think the premise is what's got Gary.
in 97, I would have been 2. So
Oh, damn.
No, I would have been a fully formed adult who could drink, but
But if you had spent decades drinking Miller Lite and then you had that,
And again,
What would your
mine was
perception have
Amberbach,
been?
which was
This
a
is better.
caramel in.
but it's not.
but it would have been a revelation.
if there was no other beer on the shelf, and this was like,
But that's
oh,
1997.
right.
Yeah.
And that's what you're coming from the context of like we've
Let
been
me put this in context. I've never been a huge drinker, period. 90% of the alcohol I drink is in front of you. That's probably not even an exaggeration. Maybe, if I went to Mondo's
I'm
or something.
actually
The
flattered
10%
by
was
that.
when he had a cider at
I
his house.
never drink at home. Ever.
Remember John Keeling? He on this podcast said that that alcohol is, or at least beer, is a social lubricant. It's meant to be consumed in the presence of others. Not that we judge anyone for having a beer by themselves, but there
I
is something
can't have
to
a
that.
beer without talking.
There's something exactly.
Good thing you have a podcast.
I mean, I should say in rare cases, like I've had a bottle of wine that was open that I had from someplace else and I needed to finish it off, and I'll have a little bit.
I'll have a scotch
but
once in a while by myself. but
Yeah, I don't, but I don't drink. And I've never considered myself necessarily a beer enthusiast. Even in college, we would have like a beers of the world night. Everyone had to bring a 6-pack of a foreign beer,
Yeah.
and then we just kind of all mix it up. We was just sort of just something we did to get drunk, and it was a lark. It wasn't like we were
To be sophisticated
tasting-
and yet have a kegger, right?
Yeah, we were the debate team.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'll go back. I've never thought that much about beer until I started coming here. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize.
So you're saying I've changed your life?
Well,
He's saying
someone
that
at this table did.
You,
better or worse.
you complete him.
Right.
No, I've just never. When I was traveling, wine was always the thing that people were pushing. And there were some places domestically that were, our craft beer scene. And it was always places like, I don't know, every place is a craft beer scene now.
Yeah.
So it really didn't mean much. But they would always talk about it at an abstract level. They would never get into the details of different types of beer. So I've learned a lot coming here. Like the first time I ever had a barrel-aged beer, I was talking shit because I thought it was just a marketing gimmick. And Bobby poured me I think it was a triple debauchery, a little bit, and I tasted it. And I was very surprised because I could really taste the bourbon. It was like someone put a bourbon shot in it. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked at how different it tasted. And I've tried lots of different beers since then. I really like sours, especially when there's no
I've
fruit in it.
noticed.
I wish you did more sours, to be honest.
Next, like in 1 day from now.
And more straight sours.
Please don't encourage this.
And I'm on Allison's team. I'm an MSB and a porter stout.
Brewing that on Friday.
So,
But this, I think, this is,
This
if
is
you
a
were to
good beer.
make what the DNA of McFleshman's is, it's the fact that you have that diversity of beers.
Yeah.
A very large diversity of beers.
Yeah, and if
That
I
very
take
few other places have.
I give all the credit to the people making it happen. I'm involved, but I'm not doing everything. And what I do take credit for is managing that. I'm spinning plates on, you've seen our menu. There's 30 handles and it's just everywhere. And I don't want to back away from a challenge. That's if you want to look behind the curtain, if I see something that I haven't made yet, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it the best I can. Hopefully I can make the best version.
I still think you
available.
need to do a passport.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your closest beer to Sierra Nevada Green?
Oh, yeah. You're
Like, when you go home at night and you think about beer, like,
that we
what is
make?
your closest one?
Okay. So first of all, I ascribe to the Dan Carey mentality of New Glarus that we should not be mimicking. We should not be trying to make the same beers. So first of all, I'm not trying to make anything like the Sierra Pale Ale. That's not my goal.
Oh, you didn't answer my question. What's your closest beer to this?
That's where we're going here. But secondly,
because I don't know if you do.
I'm inspired by it, and we made a beer pretty much during COVID. It was called Black Sheep. And
Never had it.
Okay, Black Sheep.
Never had it. I've
And I was
wanted
gonna-
to try it for a long time.
I was going to call it 1980 for obvious reasons. And I thought, well, we have another beer with a number, so we can't really do that.
I got it.
Yeah, there's a. This is the post show.
This is a copyright strike.
We get the house
this
music
is going to
during
come up.
We get the house music during the post show. So I was gonna call it 1980.
you to be done music.
And for a lot of reasons, we decided not to do that. And then That beer was really popular, by the way, and it was inspired by this one, and in the same way that 547 was inspired by Pliny the Elder. I didn't want to sit like on one side of the table, the recipe for this one, and then create our own. I just wanted to think about it, like a musician might think about music while they're writing a song. But what came of that was Black Sheep didn't work because Three Sheeps is a famous brewery in the state of Wisconsin, and it became really kind of confusing in the market. People thought that was a Three Sheeps beer. So we pulled it back out of the market, and it was Black Sheep again because it was more of a West Coast amongst our English and German beers. That's why we called it that. So we pulled it out, and we let it rest for a year, and then we brought out what we called RBG, which was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It was a reference to the judge, the Supreme Court judge, and that beer, it was pretty much the same beer. We didn't change much. Maybe the yeast. There was something small. We're trying to define ourselves. We don't want to replicate this beer. It's already on the market.
So RBG, which became Repeal Day,
Which eventually became Repeal Day,
which you brewed yesterday,
which will come out December 5th. Is the
Black Sheep.
the beer inspired by this beer ultimately,
which was
Sierra
Black
Green.
Sheep.
Yep,
Which was
follow it up the ranks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. There's
and
a lot to unpack.
there's a lot to unpack there. And
So Gary, several Wednesdays from now, when that becomes available, you'll have a Berliner Weiss.
And you'll have a 547. What's this? I mean,
True.
but again, I go back to, we're not trying to make this beer. If you want this beer is available. They make it. We're trying to be inspired by it, and I think when we made Black Sheep, which became ultimately what we call Repeal Day, we're trying to do a new, if you were to brew this beer in 2015 or 2020, what would it taste like? What are your ingredients now? So we were trying to make that pale ale, and so we use New Zealand hops. We do what's called biotransformation. We use these yeasts that can give you a little more fruitiness. And yeah, it's me this time. So anyway, we're riffing on it, and it's a wildly popular beer. And I think to myself, we're not gonna be this beer. We're not gonna be as big as that.
So
We're far from Ken Grossman at this point.
right.
Not too far.
Not too far.
But far enough.
But we
and
make a
we're
beer
also-
that's inspired by this one in some regards. We just now
So, but
call
like,
it
an
Repeal Day.
hour
really
in-
what Ken
yeah,
Grossman,
post-game show.
what Ken Grossman did, I mean, just to put it succinctly,
Yes.
what Ken Grossman did is he took me and you and everyone else who in the late 1990s was, at some college bar in somewhere Wisconsin or wherever, and had made this transition from, your domestic beer to that. Like I knew that moment on, I would never be able to drink that domestic beer again with any level of sincerity.
Yeah, it is inspiring. It's hard to appreciate it unless you've had one and you've had that moment. It's hard to
Yeah.
explain.
And you just had your moment. And here you are, you're still
it's a good beer.
Gary's a worldly guy. Gary's been out there. He's has perspective.
Yeah, I know. Gary finds me very parochial.
Yes.
What good friends?
IPA, Grateful Dead, Joel's happy.
Oh,
Okay. Can I just ask, so you had an opportunity just to speak to somebody this afternoon who's an inspiration.
Yeah.
But did that rise to the level that you expected it to?
Yeah.
Were you left wanting more? Like
No.
what were your takeaways? Because
Well-
you and I have talked a lot about this episode leading up to it.
In the industry right now, we're all looking, the beer industry, all the brewery owners, we're looking for where are we at? Where are we going next? And for me, what I hit upon most is you're right. He and I were tinkerers. I don't work well behind the bar. I can sell the beer because I make it, but that's not the same as being a good beer tender or bar manager. My dream is to be efficient, to advance the technology, advance the quality, the safety, and to hear him say all that he did, it's inspiring because every night I go home and we're trying to make ends meet between the costs and everything, and understanding that the way out here is scale. We need to get to a certain scale, and understanding that he did that, he was brave enough to do that. We're comparing half a century apart, right? It's a different world.
Right.
But by the same token, I feel like he and I are both restless. And that's what I latched onto the most. I'm latched onto how do we do better every day and be innovative and improve our quality.
Joel, how about you? Reverse that question on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, little known fact, I had actually talked to Ken Grossman on the phone in 2008 after an attempted visit to the brewery. So I had actually emailed the brewery that a visit that my brother-in-law and I had taken to the brewery had fallen short, and there was nothing on the calendar. And it was a fairly benign correspondence, but he immediately called me back and really wanted me to come back to the brewery the next day.
This was straight up Wally World, right?
It was.
You know,
I mean, like I literally
yeah.
went there and, on a day in which online it said it was open and then it wasn't open. I just emailed them and indicated that your calendar was out of date and that it wasn't open. And we had such a good conversation over the phone, and he wanted me to come back, and I had a chance to connect with him then, and I met with his head brewer. So I don't think I was surprised by anything today because I know how much beer means to him. I know how much the customer means to him. I know how much the process means to him. So nothing about today's conversation was a huge surprise to me.
Yeah.
Because to me, he's a version of you, but 20 years older.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I come in the brewery, I walk through the back door. I never know what I'm going to find. You're going to be tinkering with something. You're going to be suspended from the ceiling by a rope, doing something or other, or over a grill doing something. And I'm just going to be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's Bobby doing Bobby. And to me, that's kind of what Ken embodies. I imagine the people at Sierra Nevada in 2002 when they went into the Gilman Brewery, or if it was after 2005 when they went into the 20th Street Brewery in Chico, they probably found him doing Bobby things. And I mean that as the most sincere compliment, and I know that you know what a compliment that is.
It is. It seems reversed. I'm only doing Grossman things. That's the
right.
way.
But I think Grossman would acknowledge that you were doing Grossman things.
Yeah.
And that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, what I took away from it was he's not directly talking to him. He's more than what we've read about. Like, I could see that guy could have gone on for 3 hours about how to passivate kegs. Like, there was more.
Right.
So much hiding right there.
I think he wanted to talk more about kegs.
Which I would have, but I knew that would have not been a good use of everyone's time.
Right. He wanted to talk more about kegs.
Yeah.
He wanted to talk more about these deep level intricacies.
That's true of almost everyone that's successful.
It is.
I don't know if
It
you've
is.
ever seen, there was a Ben Affleck interview recently. And you see celebrities like him and they're on the red carpet and stuff. You just see the celebrity. And he got into the details of movie making and financing and everything else. And you realize, well, there's a lot more here.
Yeah.
That you don't see. And I think with all famous people or anyone who's successful, there is a level of detail that someone from the outside doesn't see.
Right.
And then, in fact, once you get closer, it's all detail.
Yeah.
That's what makes them successful.
Okay, I have a day job, so we need to wrap this hour and
Yep,
a half.
we're done.
Post-show
We
conversation up.
are I'm done.
The pyramid is as
Okay.
tall as the eyes between the host and the
Gary,
call yourself.
Gary, wrap us up.
Is this going to be a real episode or a Patreon episode?
I'm not sure yet. I'll
Just cut and paste the conclusion I did from another episode then.
Put all the
no,
transcript.
redo the thing.
Put it
I
put
like
it
to
into
hear
AI and have it make something tolerable.
I may only take 30 minutes of this hour 15 conversation, and make it on the public, but the rest will be on Patreon.
This concludes the post-game wrap-up of Respecting the Beer. As good as our interview with Ken Grossman was, this kind of is the opposite. This is the Packers beating the Lions week 1 and then losing to the Bengals.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
The producer of Respecting the Beer is David Kelso. Without David, there would be no show. You probably want to sign up for Patreon because I think a lot of this discussion is going to wind up over there. Links to that are in the show notes. And until next time, remember to respect the beer.